This time on episode 221 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we talk Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. orientation, we talk Marvel News Roundup, and we talk your feedback.
I'm Chris from All Things Good and Nerdy, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Make sure you check out all the other great podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Haley.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. This show is recorded on Sunday, December 3rd, 2017, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast galactic-wide via www.geeks.live. Ladies, happy National Roof Over Your Head Day.
Hey, I have one of those.
Yes, very lucky.
Yeah,
Great.
having a home.
Yes.
Indeed, that is not called the Lighthouse.
It's better than not having a home called the Lighthouse.
It's true, the Lighthouse is better than no lighthouse. Correct. Okay. We'll talk about that later. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Defenders on Netflix, Legion on FX, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Marvel Comic Universe in general.
Because of Sharknado being a historical record.
If you would like to talk to us about the documentary Sharknado, you can visit our website, legendsofshield.com.
If you'd like to leave us a voicemail about your encounter with a Sharknado, you can do so at 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
If you'd like to talk to us on Facebook about Sharknadoes, like the Pop Funko figure I am holding up right now, you can find us on Facebook at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You could also share your Sharknado stories with us on Twitter, at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can link us videos about Sharknadoes on YouTube, www.youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network with Sharknadoes.
So I'm guessing that the historical record of Sharknadoes might be possible because of Lauren's Pop Funko.
I am going to make sure that survives into the future. And I'm going to write out a whole fake historical document about it. I'm going to carve it in stone just to make sure.
Well, here's hoping the stone survives. In the meantime, we're going to move on to the main event, talk about orientation and really what we're all talking about here. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finally came back with their premiere in season 5 of Orientations, the episode name, and it's great to finally have this show back. Tons better, in my opinion, than the Inhuman short run series. So just as a little reminder, as we transition back into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who runs this show, I found out it has 3 showrunners right now. Jeffrey Bell has always been involved, but he's always been listed as an executive producer. He's actually listed as a showrunner right now, along with Jed Whedon and Maurissa Tancharoen. To give you a little background, in case this is just first foray into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which it might be because I heard a lot of people are coming back to watch the show. Jed Whedon produced Spartacus War of the Damned and Spartacus Gods of the Arena before helming Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever since season 1, along with Maurissa Tancharoen. They're a paired couple. You can't separate them, even their production duties. She also produced Spartacus War of the Damned, Spartacus Gods of the Arena, and Dance Life. And Jeffrey Bell is credited with production credits with Angel and Alias. So he's got a long stemming background in television. Episode 1 of season 5, Orientation aired Fridays, December 1st, 2017, after the 8-episode run of The Inhumans in the same time slot on Fridays, which is switched over from previous years on Tuesdays in the fall of 2017. And I haven't found exact numbers, but I've heard it's 2.5, which is pretty good for a Friday night. And it is an increase over what their live ratings were last year. So with 2.5. All right, Michelle, Orientation, what's with the title?
Well, when you start a new job, you have to go through this process of getting to know where everything is and how to work things. Well, our team is in a new location and they don't understand how things work. What are metrics? What is processing? What does all of this mean? Why are people basically being fed food pellets? And they have to go through a very quick and harsh orientation period.
Was that food pellets? It looked to me like dog food.
That's what I thought.
Either. It reminds me of like hamster food or something, like the alfalfa pellets.
Yeah, it was basically dog food. That's exactly what it was.
I don't know if you've
It was
seen drama, but
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say Bachelor Chow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, orientation into the new job. Okay. I think they're getting a little oriented as to where they are and like where the Earth may or may not be. I think there was a little bit of that going on, trying to figure out, doing the kind of the Scooby-Doo thing of figuring out exactly what was going on while everything was going on around them. So that's my take on orientation as well. So we had actually 2 episodes. This was a 2-hour season premiere, part 1 and part 2, but they were produced as 2 separate episodes. So we're going to run down the creative team of both episodes, since basically it was one big episode, with the exception that they were filmed as 2 one-hour episodes. So Haley, why don't you start us off with the director of part 1?
This was directed by Jesse Bochco. He has 16 directing credits going back to 2002, starting with an episode of Philly. He also did several episodes of NYPD Blue, Over There, and then Commander-in-Chief, which was an excellent TV show where Gina Davis was president. He's done a lot of other TV, including The Closer, Prison Break, Nip Tuck, Raising the Bar, Dallas, the 2012 version, Grey's Anatomy, Murder in the First, and he has done 8 episodes, including this one, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Lauren, who directed part 2?
Part 2 was directed by David Solomon, and this is his second discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's also directed episode 15 for season 2, One Door Closes. He has 34 directing credits since 1989, starting with an episode of Matlock. He also directed Out of Gas, which is one of my favorite episodes of Firefly, 19 episodes of Buffy, 2 of True Calling, 10 of Las Vegas, 1 of Chuck, 1 of Burn Notice, 1 of the Knight Rider reboot, 6 episodes of Dollhouse, including Epitaph 2 and Epitaph 1, which were some of, again, my favorite episodes. 1 episode of Fringe, 5 episodes of Once Upon a Time, 5 of Grimm, 1 of Powers, 1 of Rosewood, 3 of Midnight Texas, and actually he's listed as 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., also Chaos Theory. He's also a producer on a whole bunch of shows. He was the co-producer for a whole bunch of episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and several Perry Mason TV movies.
Ooh. Those, when was the years with that? Because I missed
like
those.
1991.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to transition over to the writers. We'll start with part 1. Michelle, who was a co-writer for part 1?
Part 1 co-writer was Jed Whedon. He's had multiple discussion appearances on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. He has 11 credits since 2008, including 1 Axeman, 2 Spartacus War of the Damned, 16 Dollhouse, 14 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's also a producer for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Slingshot, Spartacus War of the Damned, Spartacus Gods of the Arena.
Haley, I'm just spitballing here, but I think you know without reading who co-wrote part 1.
Maurissa Tancharoen, of course, co-wrote this. She only has 9 writing credits going back to 2003, but they're good ones. She did Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, and then Commentary the Musical. She did an episode of Drop Dead Diva, a bunch of episodes of Dollhouse, she only did one episode, it says, of Spartacus, which doesn't seem right, but she was also a showrunner for that, so maybe that's what it was. And then she has 14 writing credits on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she's been a showrunner for the entire series.
Usually Jed and Maurissa take the intro and the last episode of every season, so they've got their writing credits smattered all over the place between the two. So moving on to part 2, Lauren, who wrote that episode?
Part 2 was written by DJ Doyle. As a writer, he only has one credit, all of which are Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's right. Only one credit. So it's got 20 as executive story editor, 10 as story editor, 7 written by, and 1 script. So he's only written Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as his main thing. So we've been doing a Michelle's mom's take on previous episodes that we've covered of the Inhumans, Defenders, that sort of thing. We're just going to get this out of the way right at the beginning because it's pertinent to discussion. Michelle, what was your mom's take on this 2-hour season premiere?
Unfortunately, she hasn't been able to get to this yet because she had to watch a 4-hour crossover event. So that took some time, and she will watch S.H.I.E.L.D. sometime soon.
Wow, a 4-hour crossover event. Would that happen to be the CW Network DC 4 show crossover earlier this week?
Yes, it would. Normally, she kind of watches certain ones and then like she skips around, but this time she had to watch all 4 hours because it was a complete crossover.
So good.
So if people want to hear Michelle's mom's take on Crisis on Earth X, they will have to go over to the Starling Tribune and hear that because we're not going to talk about it here. But the important part is there was a lot of good comic book TV on this past week. So I'm not surprised that people haven't gotten to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet because there's just so much to plow through. Looking forward to getting caught up next week with a bunch of shows that weren't one of these 6 hours of TV myself. So the first thing that we have to talk about, we absolutely have to talk about this first because it's so paramount to the episode, is what a badass May is.
And not only that, what a badass Ming-Na Wen is. Because everything that she did in episode 1 was filmed like a week after having knee surgery.
Oh,
yeah.
Ouch. No wonder why she was hobbling around. I wonder if they did that to make her hobble. Just because.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
So she has an excuse to limp.
Because materializing into a pipe through your leg is not the way to enter into the future.
It's a pretty bad way. I mean, there's bad entrances. I've had my share of bad entrances into a room or a situation. That one, I mean, it's not great.
She had to figure out a way to break the pipe loose. And then when she did, she had to pull the pipe literally through her leg. I mean, oh my gosh.
And then Deke shows up, and at the time we were like, oh my God, is that Star-Lord? And then I didn't really see his face, so I was thinking, is that Fitz from the future? Because at the time I was already thinking, oh my God, they have to be in the future. Everybody's acting all weird. This can't be.
Especially the way Virgil was acting. You're like, that's too much fanboying for things we know that they've done and that have been made public that they've done.
Yeah. So I was like, this has to be the future. And so then she gets into a fight with him straight off, like 2 minutes after pulling a pipe out of her leg. Out of her thigh, by the way, which, I mean, your calf, that's one thing. You can kind of, but your thigh, that's the big muscle. And that's like a lot of the, important stuff is in there. And if you've ever had a thigh injury, it freaking hurts. But I mean, just wow. And considering she was still doing some limited stunts a week after knee surgery, just all the respect to Ming-Na Wen.
Definitely made for a good show. Yeah, absolutely. And we find out we never actually got the answer whether or not she has previously flown a spaceship, but we know now she knows how to fly a spaceship, which looks suspiciously like the bus.
The bus?
Yes.
It's almost like they reskinned the thing they had already built.
And I love that her answer was, the answer to that, which it's a non-answer, but it's the kind of non-answer that is an answer.
It actually looked like Star-Lord's ship, combine with the bus?
See, I was thinking it was the shape of the bus, but kind of like the paint job of Star-Lord's.
Yeah, it's like the Milano and the bus had a baby.
Oh, just picturing that.
The Buslano.
Awesome. Okay, so
Can we call it Tatiana Buslano?
Yes.
Hashtag Tatiana Buslano. Okay, there we go. There's your episode. Hashtag.
She's not busy on Orphan Black anymore. They could totally bring her on the show.
They could.
I
Why
know.
don't they?
That would be good. So we've gotten the May stuff out of the way first because we had to. All props to Ming-Na Wen for doing what she did on these episodes. Let's get into the aliens. What the heck was that in the beginning? That was the weirdest thing ever with the kind of weird music and the skin suit, and all of a sudden they're captured and they're
You knew as soon as you saw that guy, you're like, is he a robot or an alien? Because he's definitely not human.
The first thing I thought of was Men in Black, and not like, the movie Men in Black, but the actual urban legend Men in Black, where they are aliens or robots or something in a skin suit, and they're very tall and thin and abnormal and pale. And seriously, if you want creepy, go look up the actual origin of the urban legends of the Men in Black, because that's what that is.
I'm still scratching my head over why Fitz wasn't on the list, because Virgil knew that he wasn't on the list. So I don't know if it's like a takeout Chinese order. Okay, I want everybody but Fitz, or what happened. But Fitz is not going for whatever reason. I'm thinking it's a paperwork snafu with the Men in Black personally, but I don't know.
I'm thinking they need him there for something, or I'm thinking that, I don't know, maybe this is like a second attempt and they've tried this before and it doesn't work if Fitz is there. I don't think that's the case, but that's the thing with time travel.
Maybe Fitz needs to stay there to like organize things in the present so things work out in the future is what I was thinking.
Yeah, because he had that note on the postcard. He says, I'm working on it. Fitz.
Yeah.
So he's the one working on something, and
They need him there to time travel them back, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Because again, like Simmons says, "Oh yeah, I'm a biologist. Let me just figure out time travel in like 5 minutes." She's not the one who can do that, but he's the one. He's more of the engineer. If anyone can do that with the available resources and whatever alien cooperation they have, it would be Fitz. Yeah. Because that monolith is clearly it's a white monolith. It's not the same. It's sort of the same, but not really the same as the one that we've seen before, which travels them through space.
You can't just ask a monolith if it's white.
But
so I think this series has taught us, if you ever find yourself in a closed room with a monolith, try to escape very quickly. Try to run.
That's kind of the reason they locked the door, probably.
Yeah, I'm guessing, because you see that and you're like, oh no.
Hold still, monolith's vision is based on movement.
I like that Simmons called out that she's been through this before.
Yes, and she just very quickly, everyone's panicking and Simmons like, oh great, not again.
And I love that she's wearing a mask. That's one of the things that I can't stand in like movies, especially like the Alien prequels, where they're like, let's do in a spacesuit and we're in this weird environment.
It says there's oxygen. Everybody take off your helmet.
Take off your helmet. It's like, no, just because it's breathable doesn't mean like there's viruses and bacteria and pathogens and weird stuff in the air that, like if you inhale it, you turn into some weird creature or something.
Yeah, you don't know what weird trace elements are in there.
Yeah, you just can't take off your mask because there's oxygen. It's, oh my goodness. So finally, a scientist keeps on the mask. And
she's a biologist and she's a good biologist. So of course she's the one who thinks of this. Thank you, writers. Thank you.
So I have to backtrack a little bit. I think the reason they didn't take Fitz is he was somewhat instrumental in creating the lighthouse and the trawler.
Yeah, I buy that. Sorry, dying. I buy that.
Okay, so the time travel thing,
wait, before we move on, speaking of people having common sense, I love that Mac and Yo-Yo were like, we've seen this movie, we're not splitting up, and then all of them walking
like
together.
A wedge formation.
I think this is the coolest we've ever looked.
We've ever looked.
Like, all of them are kind of crouching in like
It's like a Scooby-Doo thing.
Yes, it is. It was the
great.
best.
But yeah, of course.
I forgot how much joy this show brought me. After Inhumans, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But then I watched it, I was like, oh yes, this is why we're doing this podcast. This is the best.
I know, I keep mentioning it, but it's that thing where intellectually you love a thing, and then all of a sudden it's back, and every 5 minutes I'm screaming, I love this show!
And your neighbors are like, I wonder what she's watching.
Oh, screw them. They are loud enough already.
Fair enough. Okay, time travel. The whole thing with the monolith and bringing through, did you notice how Coulson came through and that everything was frozen for a little bit until he got caught back up? That wasn't the normal monolith travel that we experienced before with Maveth. So there's a differentiation on how they're going through and catching up with the time dilation as they're reaching their final point. So just want to point that out, that they did make the traversing a little different between the monoliths.
I really did like that. At first I was thinking, oh, this is just a stylistic thing to catch us up. But then when you think about it, as like you said, yeah, catching up on the time dilation, not only does it catch us up, but it makes a certain amount of sense.
So the whole splitting up with the science babies thing, I was like, I'm done with this, but they've already tipped their hand. He comes back in episode 6. It's already in the credits, so he catches back up. It's just a question of how he's reintegrated back into the show.
Well, the actor is there, but that could be like a flashback or something. We don't know how he's going to be brought back in. And I'm not saying like, previously on or anything like that. Like it could be flashbacks to him working in the present to catch up to them.
Yeah, I would like to see that, him working with a weird guy in a skin suit or whatever.
Yeah, because those are Chekhov's guns that we got to go back to at some point in time. Because it was just too weird and creepy. The only regular person I think on that team was the guy who was talking about fantasy football. Everybody else looked like they were aliens.
See, I was thinking just the main guy was an alien.
Yeah, the other, like the guys in the like SWAT type outfits who were just talking, I figured they were just normal people who, for whatever reason, had been recruited.
Well, I took that scene where you had the guy talking about the fantasy football next to the other guy. The other guy, he was completely oblivious to the guy talking about fantasy football. He was just focused on everything around him. And in my opinion, he was acting more alien-like than the other dude. But that's just me. I don't know. We'll see.
I figured they're maybe just like mercenaries that were hired or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe the other guy was just like, this guy annoys me because he is talking about fantasy football and I could care less.
I could see that. I think there's more to it. That's just my personal opinion. So they traverse through, and Virgil is the greeting party, and oh, poor Virgil.
Yeah, he was just such a fanboy. And he was so excited. And then, like, I mean, speaking of sharks, they pulled a deep blue sea and ate him in the middle of the conversation. I mean, not sharks, the roaches.
Yeah, those are scary looking. And it's great that we know that Quake can take them out, so they at least have some sort of defense against them. But I don't think this is the last time we're going to see the roaches. I think they're going to come back and be a weapon to be used.
Agreed.
How good of an idea is it to have Daisy using her vibrational powers on a, slapped together spaceship?
Not great, I would think, but at the same time, she seems to have more control of her powers, despite what Deke has to say.
Yeah, okay. So Deke is the Star-Lord guy, and he's got this quote-unquote gallery, which is really a framework where people go and they escape where they're at. Daisy follows him in there, and then she's sucked into the framework, and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go again. The stupid framework is back again. And yes, it is the same framework. It's just not programmed the same way. So there's that.
So this reminded me of two things. One, as I mentioned, I think to Michelle in chat on the Twitter live tweets, it reminded me there's a scene in Inception where they're, recruiting people for their heist, and the guy, their chemist, has this like little place where people who are addicted to the dreaming go in there to dream because his stuff is stronger than everyone else's. And it reminded me a bit of that, but also because he's like, yeah, you know, we can't get all this stuff up here and you can't use this or that on a space station. I just got done listening to the audiobook of Andy Weir's Artemis, which is fantastic, by the way. Rosario Dawson reads the audiobook and she's amazing and the book's a lot of fun. But it takes place on the moon. And there's a lot of thought about, you know, what is and is not a good idea of stuff to have on the moon. And there's a lot of, you know, you can't have alcohol, like pure ethanol on there because it's flammable and because, you know, they have to have a higher oxygen saturation on there. So you don't want flammable stuff. And it reminded me of that a bit, you know, because there's going to be, it's a space station. And because it's going to be such a rigidly controlled environment, and you don't want to be the idiot who kills everybody on the space station, you want vices that are going to be an acceptable amount of, I'm not going to say deadly but you want them to be an acceptable amount of risky to not get your operation shut down by the Kree. And by the way, was it just me, or what did it sound like he was offering to sleep with that Kree at the beginning to get Coulson and the rest away from him?
No, I think he was just saying, we'll make it worth your while in the framework. Because that's where he calls it the gallery. So that's obvious. The Kree obviously know about the gallery. So not only humans, but Kree are involved in there as well.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're not really too sure how their economy works because they have these metrics and you work for tokens. And then there's this whole a life spent is a life earned. And I guess if somebody kills somebody or something, or like you're a low wage earner, you have to basically kill each other in some sort of space purge. And yeah, so that's what I mean. It's like we don't really know how this future works yet.
All we know is it's pretty terrible and the Kree are in charge. And the main Kree dude that we see in charge, because Simmons gets brought to him, he is so creepy.
Yeah.
Like, just skeevy and...
Cassius?
Yeah. By the way, this is not this actor's first appearance in the Marvel Universe. He is the CIA instructor who is giving your favorite SP, Agent 13. He's looking over her shooting at the end of Winter Soldier.
Nice. I'll
Yeah.
have to go back and look at that.
That's what he looks like without makeup. But yeah, oh my God, he's so creepy. And of course, he's pruning a tree or pruning a vine creepily while talking about, oh, we're doing this for their benefit. Relieving pressure and giving them space to grow. If you meet anybody who gardens creepily or bakes creepily, anybody who makes any sort of calming hobby creepy, just back away. Just back away.
And she couldn't because the lady Kree with the Terrasphere balls was hovering right there.
Yeah, who, by the way, the actress who plays her is Julie Mao from The Expanse.
Totally underused during the first season of The Expanse, by the way. And I was thinking about this, Lauren. We might actually see her again because of what happened with Venus and everything, but we'll see about that. Anyway, yeah, it's great to see her in this role of power versus the role that she was in before.
Versus the plot device she was in The Expanse.
The plot device victim. Yeah. But no, she's so good. I mean, in the small parts that she had in The Expanse, I mean, she's very compelling. And here, she's quiet, but she's threatening. She just has this presence. And I mentioned on the live tweet that face makeup that she's wearing reminds me of PB from Mass Effect.
I still need to play that.
Yeah, I need to. Okay, Mass Effect Andromeda. My save files were on my drive that exploded.
Oh,
so I'm hoping that I can recover them because I was a long way through that game. I hadn't finished it because I got really busy with audiobook recording. But I was thinking, okay, well, after I finish recording, I'll go back to it. And then that happened. But anyway, back to this.
Back to the space purge.
I know,
So-
and our three heroes are offered up by that guy.
Grill is his
Yeah,
name.
Grill, yeah.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, you might, if you've seen the movie Constantine, the one with Keanu Reeves, you might recognize him as his, like, I don't know, psychic priest friend who ends up drinking himself to death.
I haven't seen Constantine personally,
Oh.
but
I actually like that movie. It's nothing like the comics, but it's fun.
Okay.
Anyway, those metric things that they put through their wrist, just
well, this is all set in motion for what happens is that Lady Kree goes down and they try to give some food to the masses. They think they're doing their good job for the caged animals, so to speak. And people are fighting over this dog food because they're starving. They're living off of scraps. They have to reclamate water and everything. And one of them stabs or tries to stab another one because they're fighting over a pot of dog food, and he misses and he hits the human slave instead that's serving the Kree, called servants, but basically a slave, hits the slave instead. And then Simmons rushes over, being the medical doctor that she is, and tries to save him. And this is just not anything that's done in the lighthouse, because a life spent is a life earned. I have no idea about their economy. I can only imagine that they're trying to control population. So you have a couple of people that are killed, but because of this, because of the unruliness, they're saying, okay, well, we need to give them a renewal, which is really a, hey, don't be bad or else we'll kill a bunch of you. And then their metrics, which we haven't talked about really yet, but their metrics turn red. And if yours turn red, you either have to kill somebody or you have to be killed. And that's just the way things are. It is a messed up society.
mm-hmm.
Well, and it's not really a punishment for behavior. It's a resource management tool. Like they only have so much space and food and air for a certain number of people. So they need to get rid of the excess. And this is the way they've decided to do that.
And
Yeah, it's also very definitely a method of control, though, because it's the Kree sort of asserting themselves over the humans in that, hey, we are the ones who are managing you. So if you guys don't do this, then we'll do it for you, maybe.
what do you guys think of the whole discovery of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team as they got on board and finding out exactly where they were, when they were, what was going on? How'd you like that? Because they were taking paths that were trying to drive you in one way several times. Like, okay, we're in outer space. Well, no, you're not. You're right by Earth. We're in an invasion force. Well, no, you're not. You're in a lifeboat, basically. So what'd you guys think of that whole thing?
I
thought
liked it.
Yeah, I liked how they were trying to apply the scientific method. They're trying to observe and put things together. And, you know, the whole yo-yo mentioning, maybe this is the framework. And they're just like, oh, God, no, our heads will explode.
We just did that.
But Gemma is like, here, let's observe, let's see. And then, you know, they're like, hey, okay, we're in space. We need to get a signal out. Let's do this plan. Let's get a ship, signal fits. And just the whole, like when Deke and Coulson are talking and Deke's like, where are you from? And Coulson's like, Wisconsin. And Deke is like, are you high? Like really, and just slowly piecing it together on both sides. That finally, not only are they in the future, but they're in orbit of what used to be Earth.
This is something that's indicative of a well-produced episode, well-written, well-produced, well-executed episode. You had three separate storylines that were happening. You had three separate teams. You had Daisy rescuing Mac and Yo-Yo from their Kree overlords, which were torturing. Basically, they were going to freeze Yo-Yo's arms off. You had May and Simmons in the trawler trying to get the SOS signal out. And then you had Deke talking to Coulson, and they were all interweaved in the end of the part one of this episode. That just is good television to me. That's good storytelling. And this is why I like the show so much.
Yeah, just again, I've missed this show so much. I'm so glad it's back.
There were so many like nuggets of delight throughout this episode while we're talking about how much we loved it. Like when they're talking about like, oh, so it's magic. That's what got us here. And she's like, no, magic is just science that we don't understand yet. And they're like, what about that guy with the flaming skull who made a deal with the devil? What science was that?
Yeah.
Like, there's probably magic in this world, Simmons. I think you're gonna have to accept that.
It's such a good mix. Okay. I keep wanting to go back, rewatch season 1 and just kind of compare it to where we're at now. But right now, what I've seen, it's got that joy that you get from, the Marvel movies, but it's also got this really good sense of drama and such good character growth. And again, with Simmons, we've seen her go from just, yay, perky little lab person to somebody who has been through hell. And she has this sense of confidence in herself. And now she is on her own in hostile territory.
Again,
because she drew attention to herself without meaning to. Again. And oh man, this creepy Cree dude, who I love that they call them creepers.
I know.
K-R-E-E-P-E-R.
In the closed captioning, by the way, it's spelled K-R-E-E-P.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a good pun. It's a good pun. And I was thinking when I was watching the show, there's this between the Cree and their whole ascended folk, I don't know, servants, the people with the gold painted who are just kind of quiet and wear all white.
The house slaves.
Yeah, this very Jaffa and Goa'uld relationship going on that it's this vibe that I'm getting. So, of course, immediately after, I ended up watching a few episodes of Stargate SG-1. But it's Simmons, and she's now finding herself in this situation. And it's this weird place of privilege, but at the same time, more danger and more, because she's right under the guy's eyes.
Also,
it's
we
creepy.
might have received an explanation why they don't talk all that much, right, Michelle?
Yeah, he basically has a little, I don't know if it's like liquid mercury or some sort of creature, but basically has a Star Trek The Wrath of Khan little thing that he can slip in people's ears, and they can't hear, and maybe they can only hear his voice. It's really odd. Like her vision is kind of like looking through water, and she can't hear, but only his voice. And really, again, creepy.
It's a really good method of control because it pretty much makes that one person the sole focus of your world, because they're the only person that can communicate with you and that you can communicate with. It's really, really awful when you think about it.
It's somewhat contradictory because one of the other slaves actually talks to her. So I don't know if all the slaves are controlled that way, but definitely most of the ones that we saw seem to have the same demeanor, like they were being controlled. So yeah.
Or they've
terrible.
been trained already, so they don't need that anymore. But they've had that training, so that's the way they behave now.
Right. So let's talk about why the history of things here. We get a little bit of that. But the Kree have destroyed all the historical records, which if I was going to control a population, of course, that's something you're going to do. So I don't trust what the Kree are doing. Like, you need to look forward, not back. Well, then you're doomed to repeat your history sort of thing. And they don't know what exactly happened. And all of the believers that said, yes, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are going to come, they've all been quashed out. They've all been renewed, whatever you want to call it. So the population right now, they've accepted what is going on around them, and it's just depressing. But they don't know their history, and the history that they have pieced together, or at least that Deke has pieced together, says that Daisy, Quake, you're the reason why the Earth shook apart. Well, I don't believe that for a second, but that's what Deke believes.
Yeah, because we are students of time travel, and if Daisy is taken from an Earth that is healthy and round, and then she's thrust into the future, then she's not there when the Earth goes boom. So either, that's incorrect because she's taken to the past. But part of me is wondering if this is like a dark matter situation. I don't know if you've ever watched Dark Matter, where they have these pods and people go into the pods and like a replica of themselves is transported someplace else across the, wherever. So are they still in the room and the monolith copied them, and that's
I hadn't thought about that. That's
how the
great
timeline
idea.
is still preserved. Because again, we know that if Daisy's been removed in the past, then the Earth should be fine and stuff. So somehow Daisy has to be in the past in order to preserve said timeline, because time travel.
I feel like they're not going to do that thing where you have to preserve the timeline, because obviously I think the goal of the season is going to be to change the timeline. So they pulled her from a timeline where she had done this, whatever, to end up quaking the Earth apart. And now she's in the future. So they're going to go back and create a new timeline where that doesn't happen.
I don't think she did this at all. I think that it's, again, because they're piecing things together and there's incomplete records. And look how much like knowledge of history and stuff that we have that we find out later. Oh, wow, that's not what happened at all. So I think it was something else that did it. Yeah, maybe she was involved somehow, but maybe they're like, oh, she used her powers at something, but it wasn't enough. And it ended up happening anyway. What if it was Thanos? I know a lot of people on Twitter think, oh, this happened with Thanos.
There is going to be a major crossover later this season.
Yeah.
Well, there's also whatever was happening with the hand. Like they almost quaked New York apart.
But I'm thinking that it was something where she was involved in whatever, trying to repel whatever it was that caused the Earth to break apart. But the Kree are actively hiding whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever it truly was. See, I think this whole line is false because I've seen the end of the solar system with Doctor Who. The Earth is still there. It's still one ball, fiery ball, but it's still one ball. So yeah, I don't subscribe to this interpretation of the future. Sorry, Marvel.
Yeah, I really, really think that he's piecing it together with false information. False, incomplete, and maybe deliberate misinformation. Because again, he's with the Kree, who the Kree are going to release what the Kree are going to release. It's going to benefit them.
Completely agree with you, Lauren. I do like, Michelle, your interpretation of like the dark matter transport of the consciousness into a 3D printed body, basically. That's basically what happened. I do like, wow. I bet you that is something that could happen. Now, I have no idea if that's what it's going to happen or not, but wow, wasn't even thinking that. That's good thoughts. I like that. Michelle gets a gold star for this episode.
Yay.
Somebody else that gets a gold star, just because, well, he looks like Star-Lord, is Deke.
Oh, okay. This is my major complaint of the episode, is that I'm really sick and tired of the Han Solo, Mal Reynolds, Star-Lord type. Like, why does it have to be another white guy who's like this? Why can't it be a woman or just somebody other than a white guy who's just this trope that we get again? This to me is like the weakest part of it.
Especially because it feels like they're going to try to shoehorn him in as a potential love interest for Daisy.
Which means he'll be dead by the end of the season. So it's fine.
Well, yeah, positives. We know that the end game is Skimmins, possibly, in a V relationship with Fitz. It's Fitz on one end and then Simmons, and then she's in a relationship with both Daisy and Fitz. And everything is happy because we have confirmed that the 100th episode celebration was also their anniversary, according to Elizabeth Henstridge.
Oh, way to go. And I don't think that's what the momentous thing that they're talking about, like Jeffrey Bell's talking about in episode 100, but something big is up with episode 100. So we'll see what is up with that. All right, so there's a bunch of Easter eggs thrown in here. I mean, they're talking about spear, which I was thinking sword, but then Lauren brought up the fact that spear is actually something in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I also didn't know that. I thought it was a joke about how sword is a thing that's exists in the Marvel universe, and it's the space one.
Nope. Spear is actually a Chinese intelligence gathering organization created after an invasion by Thanos. So,
Could be. So Mac, he just had the great lines all over the place. We talked about the alien stuff before, but like when he actually enters in and sees a guy hovering over Coulson with the gun, he punches Virgil, and Coulson's
How
like,
hard did I punch him? As hard as I could. You don't half punch somebody.
exactly. I love Mac. Mac is. Oh, I am so glad that Mac is a character on this show.
I was really worried that this season he was going to be like broody and depressed after all the stuff with his daughter, and I'm glad that he's still Mac.
I love
brought
so
her
much.
up.
Yes, he mentioned while they're trying to torture him and Yo-Yo, and he starts talking to her in Spanish, and she's like, "When did you learn Spanish?" He's like, Spanish was a mandatory language study at Hope School.
Yeah, so it's like those lives, they still remember them. They still lived them.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it's one of those, it hurts, but it happened, and some positive came out of this, because now he can communicate with Yo-Yo in Spanish, and that's just so sweet. And I love the relationship between those two.
So the Kree know English, but not Spanish?
Hey, that's believable.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have an English-centric made TV show. If it was made in Japan, they would only understand Japanese.
So we basically found the code talkers of the future Spanish.
Pretty much. Yeah. But again, if you really wanted to do it, you'd find a language that had no connection to English at all. So you'd want to do something like, again, Navajo or Tlingit or something like that.
Okay.
Mac has an axe.
Max has an axe. No shotgun, but an axe.
I wonder where they stored it, because it's not like he's carrying around the axe in the main level.
Well, yeah, I had to ditch it, because if he's running around with a Kree axe, then they're going to know something's up.
No, it's probably above the skylight in the elevator. That seems to be a good hiding place. What's a skylight?
Oh, that was
it
so
is
depressing.
What it is.
You've never seen rain? I mean, condensation drips sometimes.
You see, they're 90 years removed from the Earth. Would they even know what rain, the word rain, would they even know that?
Yeah, 90 years is not that long, because that means probably like the generation of people that lived on Earth has died, but you know, the generation that heard their stories is still there.
They might still be there, depending on. I mean, you're probably like maybe three generations. Let's say 3 generations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were some people on that we saw that were at least 60.
Yeah.
Like in this episode. Yeah. So like their parents, well, yeah, I guess their parents would.
That's one of the things with regards to the whole low earners thing. When you really look at it, because they say take out the children, but they don't say anything about the elderly or the sick or anything like that. So anybody who is not able to earn because of infirmity, because of anything like that, are going to be some of the ones purged. Yeah. So after, I mean, unless you are really lucky and really physically able after a certain age, which, let's face it, in a really hard life might not be likely, you're going to be dead after a certain age.
Unless you're like Grill and you set up the smart passive income.
Yeah. Unless you're
and
like
you've got a really good door.
That's true. Good enough.
But I think we've got to kind of assume that most of their older generation is probably gone.
That's what I was assuming. I mean, you're talking grandkids. They said at least 90 years. So it might be 90. It might be more than 90. I have no idea how many generations this is, but at least you're talking about grandkids or great grandkids.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to have anybody who's 90 years old there, I would think. And even from the kids of people who are from Earth, let's say people that we could expect to see about 80 years old now, I think that might even still be a stretch. So that's why I said like third generation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Coulson did not bring his Inspector Gadget hand with him.
I know we need to be prepared for everything. How can we be prepared for space and time travel?
Well, I mean, Simmons is prepared for space.
Zapped through space by Stonehenge. Whole magic discussion.
Yeah, the trick in being prepared for all that is to surround yourself with people with skills. That way, if anything happens to you, it happens as a group, and you're surrounded by people with know-how.
Also, always bring your towel.
Always bring a towel.
It's true. Because you never know when you're going to be faced with a North Korean dictator level of creepy.
Ugh, that guy, you guys.
Indeed. Well, we're wrapping up our discussion here. Ladies, is there anything else you want to talk about? I'll let Michelle go first.
I'm really happy that the show's back. I wonder who's in the ship.
The ship that's coming in that Cassius says to Simmons is coming in. Oh, just in time for the visitors. Yeah. Look kind of bulbous. Look like
It reminded me, so when I was watching it, my husband happened to be walking through and he looks at it, he's like, it's the Mon Calamari. It looks exactly like the Mon Calamari ships from Star Wars.
It does. They might have reused some animation. Okay. Haley, what else you got?
I'm also really happy the show is back. It just, every few minutes, it brought me such great joy. And it's like, it has purged any residual Inhumans from my brain. And now there's only the joy of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay. Lauren?
Oh my God. Exactly. I'm so happy. There was kind of, maybe you could see it as an Inhumans reference to the whole, I thought you had people on the moon thing.
Yeah.
With Yo-Yo, I think, talking to Coulson. But, oh, yes, it's just the joy in this show and the cast and just the fun of it. And I'm so happy it's back. I'm just, oh, guys, you guys.
all the feels. Okay, I got two things. First of all, Virgil was also a collector like Coulson, so I think they were kin of the same trade, and it's too bad they only got the short span to talk to each other and get to know each other and that sort of thing. The second thing is I did check Fury's toolbox, and there was no mention of the lighthouse in here whatsoever. So, yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah.
One more thing, I kind of mentioned it before, but they split up the science babies again. I am a little tired of them doing that. Like, if you're gonna have them be together, like, let them be together. Quit coming up with all these stupid reasons to split them apart.
I know.
Anyways.
Well, if they were together, they would science their way out within 5 minutes, so.
They would science the shit out of this.
Thanks. Appreciate that one.
Had to be
Yeah.
All right.
Because we know it's true.
Right. So next time we're going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 3, A Life Spent. I just hate that saying already, but that's what we're going to talk about next time. In the meantime, if you feel the need to go out and listen to all sorts of great other geeky content, we have a bunch of it over at the GonnaGeek.com network, don't we, Lauren?
Yes, we do, including Game Life Balance US. In episode 43, we're back. Weddings, Extra Life, and SNES Classic Plans. A newlywed verified Cody Goff returns to the Gonna Geek Network with his co-host, Jonathan Martin, after a 6-month podcast hiatus. Hear them talk weddings, classic Star Trek, the Extra Life video game marathon, Super Mario Odyssey, and their plans to focus on the SNES Classic now that their podcast is officially back in business. Guys, Extra Life is so fun, but I can't do it anymore. The last time I did it, because the whole thing is you stay up and you play a video game for 24 hours straight for charity. I was so sick at the end of it. I can't do that anymore.
I'm too old. I can't do all-nighters. I think they only went like 6 or 8 or maybe 10 hours. I don't think they did the whole 24 hours. And that was live streamed on the Geeks.live page, by the way. Well, there was a couple of people on the network doing that, and they were one of the ones that was live streamed. Anyway, it was for a good cause, and I'm glad that we're involved with that. That's cool. Once again, you can find that episode of Game Life Balance US, episode number 43, at the GonnaGeek.com network.
All right. First up, we've got a little bit of news from the Netflix series. Amber Rose Reva did an interview with Collider about her role on The Punisher and creating a character without a comic book counterpart.
I still haven't had a chance to watch Punisher yet.
I watched the first 2 episodes last night.
I'm going to be marathoning it as soon as I'm done with audiobook production. But one of the things I was looking forward to is Amber Rose Reva, who plays Homeland Security agent Dinah Madani. And yes, she talks to Collider and she mentions, that because this character, there isn't any source material. And so she just wanted to make the character as authentic as possible. So she got into contact with Homeland Security agents, went to the Homeland Security building in New York. She mentions that her sister is a huge fan of comics, but she didn't grow up reading comics. And it's just a really interesting interview with her. So I think it's worth checking out.
I haven't had a chance to watch Punisher either. Michelle, have you?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Just kind of waiting for some time to be able to catch up with everything going on. It's the holiday season here too. Got to, do all the shopping and decorating and crap like that.
Mm-hmm.
We also have this might be an interview with Deborah Ann Wool from Bleeding Cool.
Yes. There's a lot of other stuff that she mentions in it, but she doesn't rule out a Frank Castle and Karen Page relationship, which is, I think, something that we have all mentioned we're in favor with. And she said that, I don't think it was from this interview, but I know she mentioned that they shot scenes in a lot of different ways, including playing it very, very subtexty and very right there. So she said that she didn't know which version that the show used, but that Frank has a lot of healing and growing to do before anything could happen. And one of those things is realizing that the Castles didn't have the perfect marriage. So again, interesting little interview there. Again, fingers crossed for me.
All right. And we've also got some news from the movie side of Marvel. IO9 did a breakdown of the Avengers Infinity War trailer.
Yeah, it's kind of long. One of the things that I think is the most interesting in it is the 2 gems that are in Thanos's the gauntlet. One of them is the blue one, which is the Soul Stone that we know is the Tesseract, the cosmic cube that Loki confirmed steals at the end of Thor Ragnarok. And the other one is the purple one from Guardians of the Galaxy, which was on Xandar, which might lend some credence to some theories that I've seen that orange-looking planet is maybe the remains of Xandar.
Ooh.
But yeah, there's a whole lot of other stuff there. So
Interesting. So my son texted me, by the way, Friday night, and he said, "Have you seen the Avengers Infinity War trailer?" I said, yeah, I've seen it. Are you going to podcast about it this week? Yeah, we'll talk about it on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was awesome. What'd you think about it? I said, well, it's the best 2 minutes, 23 seconds I've spent all year.
Oh, and I'm sorry, the purple and blue stones are the power and space stones, respectively. I think they're still looking for the soul stone.
How many times have you guys watched the trailer?
5, 6.
Yeah. It's a busy season. You watch it a few times and you move on. But yeah, I watched it a few times. I'll have to go back after the podcast and watch it again just because I'm bringing it up and I want to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, 12 days until Star Wars.
Oh my God.
Yay!
Yeah. So FYI, just so excited. So excited. There was a Jimmy Kimmel interview that it was the episode right after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I didn't get to watch it because I forgot it was on, and I started watching Stargate SG-1. But I'm going to be watching it, and it should be up online and everything. So if you want to see the Star Wars cast talking Jimmy Kimmel and Porgs and stuff, check that out.
Porgs.
All right, and our last bit of news this week is about Ant-Man and the Wasp and what genre that might fall into.
So comicbook.com had a translation from a Russian film magazine, Kinometro. And so this is all translated, but Disney reportedly called the movie the first rom-com from Marvel.
Huh.
That could be a lot of fun. I know that right now there's a lot of trying to branch out from the X-Men side. Logan, the post-apocalyptic Western, Deadpool doing its thing, New Mutants as a horror film. And if they do Ant-Man and the Wasp as a rom-com, that could be interesting. I'm not generally a huge rom-com person, but I would like to see what a Marvel rom-com would look like.
Yeah, straight up rom-coms I'm usually not a fan of, but when you throw a rom-com into another genre as well, I think it works really well. So when you do like Zom rom-coms, I think those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, like you this one's going to be a romantic comedy, but with lots of punching.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that.
So
That's how you punch.
Yeah.
For Love of the Game, that was a good rom-com, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd call it a rom-com, but I will throw it in that genre. 50 First Dates, which added the whole memory thing into it. So there are rom-coms out there that are better than others.
Yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You. Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that one.
Wedding Crashers. What, you guys haven't seen Wedding Crashers?
I'm not a big
It's just
fan.
been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember being super crazy about it.
I'm not a big fan. But yeah, so I'm curious. I'm very curious what a Marvel rom-com would look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be awesome. And Ant-Man would be the one to do it with.
Oh, Princess Bride. Another good rom-com.
Yep.
This
Okay.
is a
Have you
kissing
seen it yet,
story.
Haley?
Yes,
you.
I have seen The Princess Bride. Thank you very much.
You finally did, huh?
Okay.
What are you talking about? I saw that one when I was like 6, as is right and proper.
Okay. There was somebody who hadn't seen it,
Nikki.
and I was just shocked. Nikki.
Nikki
Okay.
hadn't seen it until like 3 years ago, and now she's an Uber fan like the rest of us.
Okay. Good.
Good to bring her into the light. Michelle, have you seen The Princess Bride?
Oh, multiple times.
I was going to say, we'd have to kick her
movies.
off if she hadn't.
So you've passed that list, Miss
Call
Tess.
just ends right now.
You can come back next week now. All right, that's it for the news. We're going to move on to the feedback.
So with the live tweet, our Twitter was very active. Thank you guys for hopping on and joining in. But the most active tweet was possibly this one from @AdonnaGirl. Don't tell Thanos, but I found the Infinity Gauntlet at Target. #Avengers Infinity War. She added Marvel. The Marvel account, who was watching along, then responded to her with...
Marvel
well, if he finds it, it's your fault now. So thanks. And then our Twitter feed exploded. So there was so many tweets to @AdonnaGirl, and by extension us, because she added us in it. But congratulations on getting replied to by Marvel.
Yeah, congratulations, Christy. I think in all the years that we've had the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. account, I don't remember Marvel ever retweeting or responding directly to us.
We also had, speaking of just things that make me really happy, during the live tweet, I mentioned that, Christy again said Lady Kree is kind of hot. And I mentioned she is on The Expanse too. To which Daniel Abraham, who's one half of the author duo that makes up James S.A. Corey, the author of The Expanse, said, She's awesome. Hashtag Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hashtag The Expanse. And then I kind of flailed forever. So that was amazing.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, ladies, we have a voicemail, first time in a long time, and this is from Adam. Are you guys ready to listen?
Ready?
Hey guys, it's Adam calling in with feedback for the season premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and wow, they went a lot darker than last season. I mean, it's pretty clear that Fitz is probably going to be the sort of equivalent of Gemma back during season 3, where we don't see him for a while, and then we have an episode that's, well, I guess in this case, sort of a reverse 4,000, however many it was, hours, where then we have an episode focusing entirely on him, and well, how's he going to deal with the whole framework thing, given that he doesn't have his usual support system around anymore, and has a history of abandonment issues. I mean, at least he'll have a goal with, you know, trying to figure out what the hell happened with them and stuff, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, lots of stuff to try to figure out here. For a second there, I did think that the guy who was running the place was actually Maximus until he turned around and revealed that he's just a really light-skinned Cree. But yeah, he's thoroughly creepy and can't wait to see him get his comeuppance. And can't wait for the inevitable fight between May and his enforcer with the flying ball things. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye.
Balls.
I can't wait for a May and Lady Cree fight either. That's going to be awesome with balls, by the way.
Yep. So remember at the end of last season, we were worried about like how Fitz was going to cope with the things he had done in the framework. Now he's like alone and going to have to cope with them as well. So I wonder if we're going to get to see the fallout of that.
Yeah, just it's. Does he even have any time? He has no time to process. It's like they literally had what, like 8 hours between that and this. So it's like, okay, trying to process. My friends don't hate me, and they're gone. So
we will definitely see. I don't know what the title is beyond like the 3rd episode this season. I don't know if the 6th episode, which is the one he's credited with coming back, is going to be something like, by the way, it's 4,722 hours. That was the title of the episode.
I think Adam's spot on. I kind of think that's what they're going to do with him to reintroduce him into the season, is a similar type of him by himself episode.
Could be indeed.
And I actually have the names of the first 5 episodes if you want them.
ooh, yes.
So orientation parts 1 and 2.
Yep.
A life spent.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4, a life earned. Episode 5, rewind. Which to me, episode 5 seems like that's where you would see everything that happened with Fitz on his own.
Except for he's not credited with 5. I think it's 6. I'll have to look back on it.
Yeah, but IMDb credits aren't always updated.
Yeah, it's true.
Before. And sometimes it's weeks after before you'll see some people credited.
I was just going to say, even with these 2 episodes, I don't think Orientation 1 and 2 are listed in the Whedon's credits thing yet, or at least they weren't when I was writing the show notes. So yeah, all stuff there. By the way, we did get a tweet on our Twitter feed as we were recording from Mr. Pericles. He said, so if this monolith transports through time and perhaps through space, what do we think maybe they're byproducts or related to the Infinity Stones? Also, Mac is right. Always bring energy shield hand. Maybe they find it as a relic. I mean,
Sorry, I'm looking at IMDb and there's some other people credited in the episode Rewind that I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, okay. I have to go look at that.
Who? Spoiler alert.
Okay, so I'm going to have to go look for that.
Okay.
Oh, I think I know who it is.
Yes, it is a familiar face.
Who? Say.
I think, I'll tell you after the episode.
Yeah. All right, yeah, let's finish the podcast because people get upset about spoiler things.
Okay.
But come on, get us through. Go.
Okay. Haley, how are we getting this one out?
we're gonna space purge this one out.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this podcast, for listening to us. And now you are frantically running to IMDb to check out the credits for episode 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we might talk about in the future. But in the meantime, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us for yet another premiere of a Marvel series in 2017.
Thank you for finally having me on in something I really, 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 really want to talk about. I mean, I enjoyed talking about the Defenders, but then there's Iron Fist, and then yay, Defenders, and then Inhumans, and now it's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yay!
You're welcome.
Thank you for everybody who has given us feedback, whether it's live tweeting on Twitter. And by the way, you guys, it's so fun to do this again with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with you guys. I love live tweeting all the stuff, but especially Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with you guys. Just thank you guys so very much. We love you guys so much. Seriously, we do.
That's at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Twitter, and it's 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is when the television show airs, 8 p.m. Central.
Thank you to everybody that's listening. Thank you to everybody that went on vacation with us to talk about some other shows during the hiatus and stuff. But vacation's over, and now we're back home where we belong, talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we're glad that you're back home with us, and we look forward to hearing all of your thoughts as the season goes on.
Indeed. And with that, until next time, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Haley.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Bye. See you guys next time. And thank you, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for not making me change the intro of this show. Bye.
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 Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2017.